Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Mary Ford. I lead marketing for CENTEGIX, and we're pleased that you have joined us for a few minutes this afternoon. I am here with my colleague, Jeff Downs. Jeff is a product expert for CENTEGIX and leads our channel programs. Jeff and I are pleased to spend a few minutes this afternoon with you to do three things. One would be to tell you a little bit about CENTEGIX, to share some details about our CrisisAlert solution and how it can be used in a hospitality environment. And then finally, to talk a little bit about budgeting for our solution. I personally have talked with a number of hotel operators during the course of this week, and I know that budgeting for 2021 is top of mind for many of you, and so that is an important topic that we'll get to at the end. So I want to share with you all, before we get into the heart of the presentation, that Jeff and I have been entertaining ourselves in the waiting room with some good dad jokes. And I'm going to go first with mine to share with you because mine is a Thanksgiving themed joke. And then Jeff is known for good dad jokes, so I'll let him share one too. So Jeff, why did the turkey get invited to join the band?
I don't know, Mary. Why did the turkey get invited?
Because he already had drumsticks.
Oh, boom. I love it. Very Thanksgiving. I love it.
It is very Thanksgiving. Okay, Jeff, your turn. You get to share one with us.
That's awesome. Well, you know, the other day I came home and my kids go, "Hey, Dad, did you get a haircut?" I said, "No, I got them all cut." Boom. Cracked them up.
Excellent.
Then the other one, I said, "Hey, why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself?"
Why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself?
Because it was too tired.
Too tired. Okay.
Boom.
But Jeff, I think we need to get on to the meat of the presentation here. So.
Oh, I got more if you want them, Mary. I got more.
No, that was good enough. That was good enough. Okay, just a couple of housekeeping things. I expect that we've all been on many webinar presentations over the past several months. I have everybody on mute just so that we can focus on making sure we can hear what's happening in the presentation, but I'm also monitoring the chat channel. So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll be paying attention to the chat channel. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, Jeff, tell us a little bit about how CENTEGIX got into providing panic solutions for hospitality environments.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. Great segue into it. So I think the statement there at the top, Mary, really says it all. We truly believe that we have a platform that is protecting more than any other panic solution in the market today. We're protecting over 1 million people, and not just in hotels, but we're also in schools and office buildings, in colleges. We really proved this technology in the education space, and I think everybody knows that this was really front of mind about 2 years ago, especially after a lot of the stories that came out from, Parkland, after Sandy Hook, after some of the different really major events that happened around the nation with school violence. This platform was created, and then it got the attention of a lot of people that are in the hospitality business. A lot of our partners, current partners today, that had come to us asking of us about our solution and could it be adapted into the hospitality space. We then started talking to a lot of management groups about the solution because there were a lot of mandates that were being issued by states and also municipalities to protect housekeeping staff, to protect hotel employees. Could this platform come across from education into hospitality? And it was a very, very easy transition over to that. We've been selected by a very major brand that's a national brand, and we are now in over 100,000 hotel rooms across the nation.
Great, Jeff. Thank you for that background. So panic solutions have been around for a little while. There have been some variations of them over time. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of panic solutions, especially in a hospitality environment?
Yeah, absolutely. So like a lot of other businesses, they're all trying to think about how they can protect their staff from being, from attacks to daily things around medical sides, where if they have a guest have a medical situation, or if there's unruly guests that they need to deal with. And it all started first with like maybe putting whistles on staff. Well, you can see that, the security forces that are in the hotel, if you're on the 3rd floor and you're blowing a whistle, they're probably not going to really hear you down at the front desk. And it also disturbed a lot of other guests. So that wasn't a very viable solution. Then, of course, then it went to mobile apps on the mobile phones. You know, it seems like these things have become the catch-all of technology, and everybody thinks, oh, let's just put an app on the phone and we should be able to cover it. The problem is it's multi-step. You've got to take out your phone, log onto your phone or unlock your phone, find the app, initiate the app. So there's a lot of things that go in to actually even getting and triggering out an alert. And then, of course, there's the issue for coverage. In a lot of businesses and a lot of buildings, there's and a lot of hotels, the cell service is very, very shoddy at best. And so you can't put a panic solution on a backbone that's not reliable. And then, of course, then became the wearables. And it started off with the like key fobs, and it went into more around the, okay, you can either have this on a key fob, you might be able to have it on a phone button or something where it was easier to activate. But the coverage depends on the technology. So they have to have a network deployed in the building in order for these fobs to work. If they're not, they're riding on a cellular backbone or Wi-Fi, which could cause a lot of risks for liability for the hotels. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And you're right about the mobile apps part. That seems like it is being considered a catch-all solution, an easy way to check the box. But one of our webinar guests a couple weeks ago used a phrase that I thought was really applicable. It's the fog of the moment or the fog of the incident, and the challenge that people have being able to remember all the parts about using their phone when they're in a threatening situation. It's just difficult to be able to remember to do all of those things correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, to actually even expand upon that, you know, our CEO, who actually had an incident that could have escalated into a real violent incident, actually tried to use his mobile phone at one point to call 911 and asked Siri to actually call 911, but because his voice was elevated, his voice was not being recognized by that app. So he might as well have just taken the phone and thrown it at the guy that was trying to attack him.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been an evolution of panic solutions over time, and now we have CrisisAlert as an option for hotel operators. Can you talk to us a little bit about why CrisisAlert is unique and a better solution for people to consider?
Absolutely, 100%. So you guys see on the left-hand side here of your screen, that is our badge. I'm going to actually hold up a real badge here in front of the camera so that you can see it. I'm also going to put my driver's license right next to it so that you can see exactly the size of our badge. So you can see that it's at the size of a standard issue driver's license. It's about as thick as maybe 2 driver's license, so it's not a very cumbersome badge to wear. It is a very discreet wearable panic solution that every staff member can wear on a lanyard like I'm wearing here on me. And it's also going to give you the ability to actually trigger an alert anywhere on the property and giving you room level accuracy of where you're at. So if you're on the 3rd floor, we'll know it at the command center at the front desk. If you're at the outside at the pool area, if you're outside in the parking lot, we're going to know it, and I'm going to show you how that all works. Our system covers the entire property, 100% property coverage, inside and outside, in the rooms, in the back of the house, in the laundry areas, in the maintenance areas of the hotel. This solution will cover everywhere on your property. And then the last bullet is about the ease and speed of installation. We have really perfected our install process in the thousands of rooms that we've already installed today. We can come into your property and do this within a day, and it's a non-intrusive install, which means we don't disrupt your guests, we don't disrupt your daily business. We come in, we actually deploy the system inside of a day, and we're out of there. That makes sense?
And Jeff, why can we do that in a day? Can you just say a little bit more about what non-intrusive means and
Yeah,
why we do it so quickly?
absolutely. We don't have to actually put any sort of, drag any kind of Cat 6 through the drop ceilings or drill through walls to get our hardware to connect to one another. Our system is a quasi-wireless system that does not ride on your Wi-Fi network of the hotel. It does not ride over a cellular backbone, and we create our own what's called a Zigbee mesh network on your property. And that is all delivered through a Bluetooth signaling. So if you have any sort of signaling for access control, like an RFID signal, those two signals will never cross together, and it was designed purposefully for that.
Great, thank you. So maybe just a little bit more about how the solution actually works.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was showing you the badge, so let's say, for example, you've got a housekeeper and there is an unruly guest in one of the rooms, and the housekeeper is getting, basically confronted by that guest. The discrete wearable panic solution that we provide is you're going to push the button that you see there on the screen 3 times, and there is a vibration that comes from this badge telling me as the user that I have now called down to the security desk for help without having to go over to the phone, without yelling down the hallway. I can push this badge while that guest is confronting me. And immediately the response team from the hotel will see this on their desktop version and on their mobile app. And we also have a 2-way radio integration that will go into where it says room 7, let's say it's Jeff Downs needs help in room 7. It'll say staff member needs help in room 7. And it'll come over the 2-way radio as well as coming over the phone and showing you the property map there. Everybody can see the blinking red light. That is what is identifying me in the room. So now it tells your security people, the designated responders, where to respond to that emergency. So the way that we believe it to be happening is that if we can shave off seconds of time or minutes of time for a response, that's going to save lives, or it's going to prevent people from getting injured. There's another solution as well that we can add onto the system, and that is an outside monitoring service. So for example, we work with a lot of hotels around the country that only have limited staff at night. Maybe they only have 1 desk clerk at night. So they have chosen to get a third-party monitoring service. So they turn that on, let's say at 10 o'clock at night, and it goes from 10 o'clock until 6 o'clock the next day. So that person now that's managing the desk, if they get attacked or if they have a problem, they hit their button, it immediately goes to that dispatch center of that monitoring service, and the monitoring service then communicates to 911 dispatch, and then they're sent to the property.
Great, thank you for that explanation, Jeff. So I know that you, like myself, talk to hotel operators frequently about the needs they have and some of the safety and security incidents that occur on hotel properties. Can you share a story or two of yours that is your favorite as to how our solution has really helped improve safety and security for staff and guests?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got 2 of them really. So both of these actually happened very shortly after we installed in our major brand flag that we've got. One was a guest that actually had a medical issue. This guest went down in the hallways and had a medical issue where the staff member then came to assist. And while that staff member was assisting, they pressed their button. And since they were the only ones on the property, that monitoring service option that I was just talking about, it immediately went to 911. They dispatched emergency medical services to the property, and they literally saved the life of that guest. And that was literally within inside of about 2 months after we had installed our system into that property. The next one that I really like talking about is that there was an unruly guest that actually tried to attack one of a hotel manager. And a hotel manager actually had our badge on them, and they had just been trained within 2 weeks. And they pressed their button, and immediately the security team that was on staff at that hotel was there to actually intervene in the conflict before any kind of punches were thrown or anything like, any kind of fight broke out. So he was extremely grateful that he had this solution on him, because he couldn't get to his 2-way radio because of the confrontation that was happening from the guest. So having the discrete button really helps, and it shaves off a lot of minutes.
So at CENTEGIX, our mission is to innovate technology to save and enrich lives, and stories like that really, those are powerful. They help make our mission real. So thank you for sharing those.
Exactly why we deploy what we deploy.
That's right. That's right. Okay, let's maybe do a little bit of show and tell about our components for the system. So Jeff, you already showed everybody the badge.
Yes.
I wanted to show everybody the beacon. Jeff, if you can confirm that you can see that, the beacon, it's fits nicely in the palm of my hand. This is something that is put into every room on the property. It is hidden out of sight so that a guest wouldn't notice that it is there. And being in every room helps us provide both that room level location and then get to the exterior of the property as well.
And Mary, can I stop for 1 second to talk about the badge and the beacon?
Yes.
Both the badge and the beacon are battery powered and both use Bluetooth signaling to communicate to one another. So the beacon is very important to the communication to that badge, because that's what provides us the room level accuracy that we can provide with the CrisisAlert platform. Once the badge is actually triggered, as I mentioned, it does vibrate in your hand, and it has a 5-year battery life. And the same thing with the beacon. It has a 5-year battery life as well. Now we actually have that in our agreements, and we cover that for the 5 years. But we also, and I'm going to get to this in a second, how do we actually know what the battery life is of these devices? And that is, we actually monitor the network that we deploy and implement into any hotel. And we'll get to that in just a second.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, the battery life is an important feature of the solution. And then lastly, I'll just show everyone, this is a gateway, small device that connects the network that is on site in the hotel up to CENTEGIX CrisisAlert application. Just one of those per property, and typically is in sort of your telecom closet wherever your internet connection is happening.
Yep. And I typically term the gateway, Mary, as the brains of our solution. This is where the software is uploaded. This is where the property map is uploaded. Obviously, all the badges that are scanned in, and we also provide a scanner for every single property. And on the badge, and I'll show this to you here, you see the QR code here in the left-hand corner. That is what we scan in to the software that's housed on that gateway that Mary just held up. And then that is what identifies the badge to your staff member. And you do not have to scan these in every single day. So your full-time employees have to scan it in once and they're good to go. And you'll be able to see them, see the badges on the reports that you'll be able to pull up. The next thing is that if you have temporary people on the property and you want to initiate or give them a badge, they can have the badge for the day. And it's as simple as toggling a switch on and toggling a switch off on the software to actually activate these badges. Now, the part that we didn't show you guys is the hubs, and the hubs actually there's a couple of them per floor, and we actually deploy these hubs to create the Zigbee network. So how it works is the badges communicate to the beacons communicate to the hubs, and then the hub sends the message to the software in the gateway that's housed in your IT closet. That's as simple as I can make the installation sound.
Great, thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Okay. So our installation process, Jeff, did you want to talk about how our coverage and our monitoring ensures that we've got coverage?
Absolutely, 100%. So what you're looking at here on the screen would be an example of what we call our installer app. So all of our partners, any employee that's actually on the site, our employee, CENTEGIX employee that's actually helping with the install, they would carry around an app or a tablet that would have your property map here. And you can see that there are green circles and there are red circles. The reason why there are green and red in this, and we want to show this to you, is that those devices that show exactly how far they cover, if they are not brought online yet, that means that we have to go in and make sure that each one of those devices are communicating to one another. So before we leave any property, every one of those circles around that you see on this map would be green. The reason why we love showing you guys that it's red and green is because all the devices that you see have to interconnect before the property is considered covered. And that tells us whether or not you're covered. And then when we actually monitor the solution and monitor the platform, we make sure that every one of these stay green. And we're monitoring every single one of those devices. We're the only platform out there that's doing that.
Great. And Jeff, one of the things that is another value of the solution is that a hotel operator would have access to reporting and analytics about his or her site to be able to understand the types and volume of alerts that are happening.
That's right. That's exactly right. Now, folks, please bear with us too, because as I said at the beginning of the presentation, we have proven this technology in education. So as you can see, it says Wharton High School up here, but this would be a standard look of a dashboard that you would have in your command center. And it wouldn't say Wharton High School, it would say, Hilton Property X or Marriott Property X or whatever. So you would see how many alerts have happened on your property per month, per week, and per day. You can really drill down. And if you go to the next screen, I think there's a chart. So you can actually look at different views of the alert history, what the top alerts were, what's your average response time. When we talk to our hotel operators, we talk to them about the usage of this particular feature of the system, and it allows them to really drill down and set really high benchmarks for their security team to make sure that they are responding as fast as possible to any given scenario on their property, whether that's guest related or staff related. So it's a really helpful tool.
Great, thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
And I think you've already talked a little bit about the proactive network monitoring that we do in our command center.
Absolutely. So this would be a standard look that we see on our end. You guys would not see this on your end. This is what our network operations system looks at, and all of our employees in our network ops center see. For every property, we look at the system's health. So you see that icon there in the left-hand corner where it says system health. That's going to really go through and scan every single device that we deploy out onto the property, from the badges to the beacons to the hubs to the gateway, and we ensure that the system is always up and running. It's 100%, it has to be up 100% of the time to be a very reliable panic solution, and that's how we monitor it.
Great. So Jeff, in the interest of time, I think we should move on to the budgeting and pricing conversation. I have a couple of questions that have come in from the group, but I want to get to those after we talk about pricing.
Okay, absolutely.
So I know we've just rolled out some flexible and simple pricing options for people. So could you give us a sense of what those two options are?
Absolutely. So we can either do this in a monthly model, or we can do this all in an upfront model, whichever way is the best solution for you guys. We'll follow whatever you guys need us to do. If you want us to amortize it out over 36 months, we typically do 3-year contracts and 5-year contracts. Or we've had hotels actually pay for it all up front, or as they go, depending on what the level of properties that you have. So the very simple way to look at this is it's $2 per room. So this is a 100 room example. It would be $2 a room for 3 years, which includes all of your install, all of your training, all of your hardware components, all of your badges for your staff and replacements, and then a hardware and software maintenance package that we actually put together for you in the contract. So if you had a 100 room hotel, there's what your pricing would be. It'd be $3,000 up front and then $200 a month for the remaining 36 months, or you can do it all up front at $10,000 up front and no monthly fee.
Great, thank you. So Jeff, as part of that, you mentioned training, and that's actually one of the questions that has come in from one of our participants. Is the training that's needed either for sort of administrative staff on site as well as the housekeeping staff? Can you talk about how we do that, do the training part?
Absolutely. To make it very streamlined, and what has been the preference for most hotel operators is a train the trainer model. So we will train the administrative staff of the hotel, the security staff, the general manager, any staff members that they would like to be in on the training, to show them how the scanners work, how the dashboards can be read, how to actually respond to the alert, what it looks like on the property map. And then as far as training your staff goes, it's pretty simple. Press button, help comes. That's all the type of training that they really need. So we've tried to simplify it as much as possible. All of our hotel operators work with our customer success team after the hardware install is there, and then we go through an entire set of training for them to make sure that before this system gets turned on for real, they are all up to speed on exactly how it works.
Great, thank you. And so another thing about the installation I don't think we've talked about yet is the relationship with a partner that does the install. Can you describe that partner relationship and what's important for people to know there?
Absolutely. And so at the beginning of the presentation, I talked about how a lot of partners that we have on today had come to us about this solution. They have since become very, very valuable partners to us on the install side and on the sales side. And so we actually would either work with, we've got people that actually come out, install wherever you're at in the nation, we can install the system, or if you prefer, any of your current vendors that you would like to talk to us about that do, let's say, low voltage work or your telephony work, we can train them and we can actually even introduce them about being a new partner with us, and they can do the install as well. So we would actually walk them through a training, or we can use our guys to go out and install the solution for you. But they are extremely happy with the way our process works. It's very simplified. It's very organized. There's no hidden costs. There's no real hidden complications for them to go out and actually install any of these properties. We've had partners actually install, I think the record is like 23 properties in one day. So it's been, it's very successful, our model that we've put together.
Great, thank you. Okay, we've had one more question come in from participants, and that is about how the badge works if they're not on the property. Does the badge work if somebody is no longer on the hotel property?
That is a great, great question. So because we create the Zigbee network, so kind of think of a dome that goes over the entire property, the network that we deploy with those devices that we have already covered, once you actually go beyond the coverage of those devices, which is typically at the end of the driveway, the end of the parking lot, the badge is not going to work anywhere else other than that property. So once you come back onto the property, the badge will be picked up by the hardware components. Once you leave the property, you can't set off alarms once you leave the property, if that makes sense. It's just for the property itself.
Great, thank you. Just trying to check and see if we have any other questions. So Jeff, one more question has come in. If the gateway loses network connectivity to the cloud, what is the backup?
So that's a really great question. So what we've typically done with that is because the network then kind of creates its own local area network, it will still function on site. We just might not be able to see each device from the cloud. So like from the internet connection going out, that allows us to look at how much battery life is on one of these badges or how much battery life is in one of the beacons, but it doesn't prevent the system from working if the internet goes out. We built the system so that if there is a power outage or an internet outage, the system will still function to notify security teams at that site. Does that make sense?
Thank you, yes.
Yep.
Okay, why don't we finish up? I think if you could just, Jeff, recap us through the benefits, like why someone should choose CENTEGIX and CrisisAlert, our panic solution, over any other panic button option that they may have available to them.
Absolutely. So the four that you see here, the wearable panic solution compared to having an app or some sort of a fob or a button on the wall or having to go to the phones, the wearable panic solution we feel is a huge differentiator for us. And we've already shown you exactly how easy it is to activate these and how small they are. So they're not very difficult to wear. They're not going to be cumbersome for your staff. And then that idea of being discreet, it's so important so it doesn't escalate a situation. The other big one is room level accuracy. We don't just say, hey, they're on the second floor, or hey, they're out by, they're down in the basement. We show exactly almost to the foot of where someone triggers that alarm. So room level accuracy, very, very important when you're responding to any kind of given crisis or emergency on the property. And then again, 100% property coverage. We don't just cover the rooms. We don't just cover the front lobby. We cover the back of the house, the laundry rooms, the maintenance area. We cover the pool area, the parking lots. The entire property is covered. So that means that anybody who is wearing one of these badges is going to be protected during the day and at night. And then our last is the fast installation and the low cost. A non-intrusive installation, it's very, very fast, and it's not a very costly factor for a property to actually make a decision to purchase this platform.
Great, Jeff. Thank you for that wrap up. And for our participants, that concludes our presentation today. I think I've managed to get to all of the questions that came in through the chat window. So
Great.
we appreciate your time.
Now,
And
Mary, also before we go, if you'd actually, anybody that's on the webinar that would like to contact us, I think my contact information is, I think there's a slide, I think. Keep going, there we go. There's my contact information. So if you'd like to receive a quick quote or even do a deeper dive, please feel free to contact me, jdowns@centegix.com. And I would love to have further conversation with you about this.
great, Jeff, thank you for being here with me today for the webinar, and thanks everyone for your participation. We hope you have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.